Welcome to our channel. Today, we pause to remember a life that touched hearts and left a lasting impact. We'll explore their journey, the challenges they faced, and the moments that made them unforgettable. Join us as we honor their story, celebrate their legacy, and reflect on the memories that will continue to inspire and live on in the hearts of those who knew them. The tragic news was confirmed on January 17, 2026. Bryan Tucker Zimmerman, the American singer-songwriter whose quiet melodies and heartfelt lyrics touched generations, had passed away at the age of 84. It was a moment that left fans and fellow musicians reflecting on the gentle power of his music, the subtlety of his artistry, and the enduring mark he left on those who listened closely. Born on Valentine's Day, February 14, 1941, in San Francisco, California, Zimmerman was introduced to music almost from the start. At just 4 years old, he began violin lessons, playing on an instrument carefully crafted by his grandfather. Those early strings, soft under his tiny fingers, became the first notes in a lifetime of music. When he was 7, his family moved to Healdsburg, a small town in Sonoma County's wine country. It was here, amid rolling vineyards and quiet streets, that his love for melody deepened, shaped by the rhythms of nature and the stories whispered across his small community. Music was always more than just sound for Zimmerman. It was a language, a way to express what words could not. In 1966, he graduated from San Francisco State College with a degree in music theory and composition. Soon after, he accepted a Fulbright scholarship to study composition in Rome. It was in Italy that he met the woman who would become his life partner, a connection that would stay with him across decades and continents. Those years in Europe expanded his musical perspective, allowing him to weave classical techniques into his songwriting while discovering the intimacy of storytelling through song. By the late 1960s, Zimmerman had moved to London to record his first album. It was a period of experimentation, of learning to navigate the music industry while staying true to his artistic voice. London's streets, alive with the energy of change and creativity, offered him both challenges and inspiration. He was not seeking fame in the traditional sense. Instead, he focused on music that mattered, songs that spoke to human experiences, to love, longing, and quiet reflection. His music had the rare quality of feeling both personal and universal at the same time. Eventually, Zimmerman settled in Belgium, a place where he could immerse himself in his craft while maintaining a sense of serenity. There, his career matured. He performed in intimate venues and collaborated with other musicians who recognized his sensitivity and skill. Despite living far from the spotlight of mainstream American music, his work reached listeners across borders. Fans would write letters describing how his music had provided comfort during difficult times. Bryan's songs were like a friend you never met but somehow knew, one admirer shared online. Those who knew him personally remember him as humble, thoughtful, and endlessly curious. He had this quiet way of making everyone feel heard, a longtime collaborator said. Even in a crowded room, you would feel like his music was speaking directly to you. Family members often spoke of his devotion not just to music, but to those he loved. For Zimmerman, life and art were inseparable. Every note carried intention, every lyric, a fragment of experience transformed into beauty. Zimmerman's legacy is not measured by chart-topping hits or stadium tours, but by the resonance of his music in the hearts of listeners. His songs have a timeless quality, offering solace, reflection, and subtle joy. Through decades of changing musical trends, his work remained a steady presence, a reminder that artistry does not always need fanfare to be powerful. It is felt in quiet moments, a song played in a small living room, a melody drifting from an open window, a line of lyric remembered years later. Tributes poured in after news of his passing. Fellow musicians expressed admiration for his dedication to craft, while fans shared memories of songs that had marked their lives. He made the world a little softer, a little kinder, through his music, one tribute read. Another noted, Bryan Zimmerman's music reminds us of what it means to listen, really listen, and to feel. As we remember Bryan Tucker Zimmerman, it is important to honor the subtle genius of a man whose life was defined not by loud acclaim but by quiet impact. He leaves behind a catalog of music that will continue to resonate, a body of work that proves artistry is measured not in numbers, but in depth and sincerity. His songs will remain an enduring companion to anyone who seeks solace, beauty, or understanding in melody. Bryan Zimmerman will be remembered as a quiet voice of a generation. His life reminds us that the most profound contributions often come from those who move softly through the world, yet leave a lasting echo. In every note, in every lyric, he offered a gift, the reminder that beauty can be both simple and everlasting. The news was confirmed quietly, without spectacle. Lee Hovis Jr. passed away on January 22, 2026, at the age of 84. There were no flashing headlines or urgent alerts. Just a soft acknowledgement that a familiar voice from an earlier time had gone silent. For many, the name brought back memories of evenings spent in front of the television, when music felt calm and reassuring. Lee Hovis Jr. was born on September 24, 1941. He grew up in an America where family gatherings often included music, and harmony was something shared, not performed for applause. From an early age, he showed a natural gift for singing. It was not loud or showy. It was steady. The kind of voice that blended rather than competed. His life changed when he joined the Lawrence Welk Show, one of the most watched music programs in American television history. Alongside his former wife, Round the English, Hovis became a regular presence on the show. Together, they represented a simple idea, that music could be gentle, joyful, and welcoming. Their performances did not demand attention. They invited it. At a time when television was becoming faster and louder, the Lawrence Welk Show remained calm. And Lee Hovis Jr. fit perfectly within that world. Week after week, he stood on stage, often smiling softly, singing songs that felt familiar even when they were new. Viewers trusted that what they would hear was something safe and sincere. One longtime viewer wrote online, Lee Hovis always sounded like someone singing just for you, not for the camera. That quiet connection was the heart of his appeal. He was never positioned as a star above others. He was part of an ensemble, part of a shared moment. Behind the scenes, those who worked with him described a man who valued kindness over attention. A former cast member once recalled, was the same person off camera as he was on stage. Calm. Polite. Always respectful. In an industry known for pressure and ego, that consistency stood out. His partnership with Round the English also became a symbol of harmony, both musical and personal, during their time together. Audiences saw them not just as performers, but as a pair who represented stability. Even after their marriage ended, Hovis continued his work with grace, never allowing personal changes to disrupt his professional demeanor. As television evolved, the spotlight slowly shifted away from variety shows like the Lawrence Welk Show. Trends changed. New formats took over. But the impact of those years did not fade. For many families, the music Hovis helped bring into their homes became part of tradition. It was the sound of Sundays. The sound of grandparents humming along. When news of his death spread, tributes began appearing online. One fan wrote, "He was part of my childhood." When the world felt simpler, his voice was there. Another shared, Lee Hovis Jr. reminded us that not all legends need to be loud. His passing marked the end of a chapter from a television era defined by patience and care. An era where performers were expected to bring comfort, not controversy. Where success was measured not by viral moments, but by years of quiet trust with an audience. Lee Hovis Jr. never chased reinvention. He stayed true to what he did best. Sing clearly. Show up on time. Respect the audience. That steadiness became his signature. It allowed his work to age gently, without losing meaning. In later years, as discussions about classic television resurfaced online, his name often appeared with warmth rather than debate. He was remembered not for scandals or headlines, but for reliability. For being present. For doing his part and doing it well. A family statement released after his death described him as a devoted father, a gentle soul, and someone who believed music should bring people closer. That belief guided his entire career. It shaped how he performed and how he lived. Today, his voice no longer fills television studios. But it still lives in recordings, in memories, and in the quiet moments when someone recalls a song from long ago. Lee Hovis Jr. leaves behind a legacy built on harmony, humility, and trust. He will be remembered as a man who never needed to stand alone at center stage to matter. His impact came from blending in, lifting others, and offering comfort through music. In a world that often rewards noise, his life reminds us of the power of calm. And in that calm, his memory continues to sing. The news came quietly, spreading first through small headlines and shared memories. Floyd Vivino, known to generations simply as Uncle Floyd, had passed away. There was no single place where the loss was announced. Instead, it appeared in fragments, a post from a fan, a line from a former colleague, a shared clip from an old television broadcast. For those who knew his work, the feeling was immediate and personal. Uncle Floyd was never meant to fit into the standard shape of television. From the beginning, his presence felt different. His humor was strange, playful, and sometimes confusing. But it was always honest. He did not perform to impress executives or chase ratings. He performed to connect, even if that connection was small, quiet, or misunderstood. Born Florio Vivino, Floyd grew up with a love for comedy, music, and performance. He understood early on that mainstream success was not the only measure of value. Instead of waiting for approval, he built his own stage. Low-budget sets, simple props, and raw ideas became the foundation of the Uncle Floyd Show. It was television that looked unfinished, but felt alive. The show aired primarily in the New York and New Jersey area, but its reach went far beyond geography. Viewers who felt out of place elsewhere found something familiar in Floyd's world. The jokes were odd. The timing was loose. Mistakes were left in. And that was the point. One longtime fan wrote online, "Uncle Floyd made it okay to be weird before being weird was accepted." That sense of permission became part of his legacy. He created space for people who did not see themselves reflected on polished stages or perfect screens. Musicians, comedians, and artists often appeared on his show long before they were widely known. He welcomed them without judgment. There was no pressure to perform a certain way. A former guest once said, "Floyd didn't ask you to be funny. He let you be yourself, and somehow that was enough." Behind the exaggerated expressions and absurd sketches was a performer deeply committed to sincerity. Uncle Floyd understood that laughter did not need structure to be real. Sometimes it just needed trust. His audience trusted him because he never pretended to be anything else. As television evolved, his style remained unchanged. While other programs chased trends, Uncle Floyd stayed rooted in his own rhythm. The sets stayed small. The humor stayed strange. And the audience, though never massive, stayed loyal. When news of his death spread, tributes came from across creative communities. One fellow performer shared, "Uncle Floyd taught us that creativity doesn't need permission." Another wrote, "He built a home for misfits, and he kept the door open." For many, his work represented freedom. Freedom from polish. Freedom from expectations. Freedom to fail in public and keep going anyway. That freedom inspired countless artists who later found success in more traditional spaces, but never forgot where they felt seen first. In later years, clips of the Uncle Floyd Show found new life online. Younger audiences discovered him not as a relic, but as something timeless. The humor still felt fresh because it was never designed to age well or poorly. It was designed to be real. His family described him as kind, curious, and endlessly supportive of others. A statement released after his passing said, "Floyd believed joy was something you shared, not something you owned." That belief guided everything he created. Uncle Floyd never became a household name in the traditional sense. But for those who needed him, he was essential. He proved that impact is not measured by size, but by depth. By how deeply you reach the people who find you. As the lights dim on his handmade stage, the echoes remain. In laughter that feels a little strange. In shows that dare to be imperfect. In creators who choose sincerity over polish. Uncle Floyd will be remembered not for fitting in, but for standing slightly to the side and waving others over. And in that space he built, his spirit continues, playful, generous, and unafraid to be exactly what it was. The confirmation came without drama, delivered in a short statement and followed by a quiet pause across the television world. Bruce Bilson had passed away. He was 88 years old. For many viewers, his name did not immediately trigger a face or a voice. But his work had been present for decades, shaping laughter in ways that felt effortless and lasting. Bruce Bilson was a director who understood restraint. In an industry often driven by volume and speed, he believed comedy worked best when it was guided gently. He did not push jokes forward. He gave them space to land. That approach became his signature, even if the audience rarely noticed the hand behind it. Born in the early years of television's rise, Bilson grew into his career as the medium was still defining itself. He learned early that directing comedy was not about control, but about trust. Trust in actors. Trust in timing. Trust in silence. Those values stayed with him throughout his work. He became best known for his role in shaping Get Smart, a show that balanced sharp wit with playful absurdity. The series relied on rhythm more than noise. A pause mattered as much as a punchline. Under Bilson's direction, the humor felt confident, never rushed. A former colleague once said, "Bruce didn't tell you how to be funny. He made sure nothing got in the way of you being funny." That quiet guidance earned him respect on set. Actors felt safe experimenting, knowing they were supported rather than pushed. Bilson's work extended beyond a single show. He directed episodes of several major television series, always bringing the same calm presence with him. Crew members often described him as steady and prepared. There were no raised voices. No need for attention. Just clear direction and patience. As television comedy evolved, his influence remained visible. While styles changed and pacing accelerated, the foundation he helped build stayed intact. His episodes aged well because they were never chasing trends. They were built on structure, timing, and respect for the audience. When news of his death spread, tributes focused less on awards and more on character. One actor shared online, "Bruce Bilson was the kind of director who made everyone better without needing credit." Another wrote, "He taught us that comedy doesn't need to shout to be heard." Behind the camera, Bilson was known for his humility. He did not seek recognition outside the work itself. He believed the success of a scene belonged to the team, not the director alone. That belief shaped the environments he created, where collaboration mattered more than hierarchy. In later years, as classic television found new audiences through reruns and streaming, his work gained renewed appreciation. Younger viewers discovered Get Smart and similar shows without knowing who directed them. They laughed anyway. That was enough for Bilson. A family statement released after his passing described him as a devoted husband, father, and a man who loved storytelling more than attention. It reflected a life lived in balance, where professional pride never overshadowed personal values. Bruce Bilson's passing marked the quiet loss of a craftsman. Someone who understood that comedy is fragile. That it needs care. That it lasts longer when it is treated with respect. His career stood as proof that influence does not require visibility. Today, his name may appear briefly in credits or articles, but his impact continues every time a joke lands just right. Every time a pause earns a laugh. Every time humor feels natural instead of forced. Bruce Bilson will be remembered as a director who shaped laughter without stepping into it. A steady presence behind the scenes. And a reminder that sometimes the most lasting voices are the ones we never hear, but always feel.